Hello, today I'll show you how to make an advanced quiz game in Scratch. As you can see, this is a quiz game, and if you start, it will do a nice effect. Now, if you select the right one, it will be green, but if you select the wrong one, it will be red. And if you finish the quiz, it will show how many you got correct. So let's get started. First, don't delete the cat, but delete costume 2. Zoom out, select the cat, and scale it, and place it in a good position. Now, make the outline a good size until the cat looks normal, something like this. Use the box tool. Make it a nice blue color, something like this. Drag it out, make it go to the back layer, and rename it to background. Now, paint a new a new costume named Button. This time, make the fill slightly more saturated, and then create a rectangle. Make it a good size, something like this. Make the outline a slightly darker version of the fill, and make it a good size. Now, in the fill, click the third gradient type, and then use the outline, and it should look like this. Now use the text tool and make it any font you want, and make the fill white. Now type in start, place it in the middle. Now select, press shift to snap it in place, and place it slightly more to the right. Then use the box tool, make the outline, press shift, make it slightly more darker. Use this tool, delete this, press shift, turn it 45 degrees, make it flatter, slightly nicer shape. Now, use this tool, then select these places for all the corners, then delete the corners, and now you got smooth corners. Now, lastly, paint a new costume named Title. Use text tool, make the fill white, use any font, and type in quiz game, and make it a good size. Now, when green flag is clicked, hide, go to 0, switch costume to button, and then create a clone of myself. Now, duplicate this, go to 0 and 110, switch costume to title, duplicate this one more time, go to 0, switch costume to background, and create a clone of myself. Now, when I start as a clone, show, set size to 0, forever, if else, equal, costume number equals 2, which is button, then another if else, touching mouse pointer, then change size by a divide and a subtract, and size in middle. 130 divided by 3. 130 subtracted by size divided by 3. Oh, and make sure this is change size by. This will create a smooth effect. Duplicate this and place it in both else's. Now, another if else equal, this time costume number equals 3, which is actually equal 1, which is background. And if so, go to back layer. Oh, and also this is a if. Now, in here, if mouse down, wait until not mouse down, then broadcast. New message, start quiz. Now, lastly, when I receive start quiz, stop other scripts in Sprite, repeat 10 times, change ghost by 10, and change size by using this technique. Change size by 50 subtracted by size divided by 3. And lastly, delete this clone. Now if you test it, it'll have a nice start effect. Then clicking start, it'll do that nice exit effect. Now, rename this to start screen. Now, paint a new sprite named options. Now use the box tool. Before that, select the button, then go back to options and then box tool. Now, make it a good size. Best to be 170 times 43. About something like that, and rename it to template. Now, when green flag is clicked, hide, then create a few new variables named collect answers, for all sprites, show text for all sprites, and then question for all sprites. Set correct answers to 0, set show text to 0, and set question to 1. Now create a new block named create questions. Run without screen refresh. Now, in here, create 2 new lists named questions for all sprites, and then answer for all sprites. Now delete all of answered and delete all of questions. Now add questions, add thing to questions, then add a question like when was Scratch created. Then duplicate this, then add add a and then a dot, a dot, and then 2017, which is the correct answer, then b, which would be, let's say, 2015, wrong answer, c, 2001, and then D, which is the last option, 2005. Now, add answer, add 1 to answer since the A is the correct answer. Now, duplicate this to add another question like, what's the default direction for a sprite? And then you put in the answer like 80 degrees, 60 degrees, 90 degrees, or 180 degrees. And set answer to 3 since C is the correct answer. Now, after you're done adding questions and answers, we will do, when I receive start quiz, set show text to 1, and then create a new block named create options, run without screen refresh. Now create options in there. Now creating options, if else question is not greater, if question is not greater than length of answer, then clear graphic effects, create a new variable named ID for this sprite only, set ID to 0, go to -100, -300, create a new list named options info for all sprites. Delete all of options info. Create a new variable named y for this sprite only. Set y to 0. Set show text to 1. Then repeat, both repeating 2 times. Now, in this repeat, add x pause to options info, then add y pause, then add text and size. Then change ID by 1, create a clone of myself, and then change y by divide, subtract, y position. Oh, actually, instead of this, set x to x times -1. Now, in here, in between these two repeat blocks, change y by -70 and set x to -100. Now, at the very bottom, set ID to 0. And then broadcast new message end quiz. Now, when I start as a clone, so right here, show, then forever, and then here's the part where we do change y by, divide, subtract, there will be a 3, y position, y subtracted by y position, divided by 3, then replace item of options info with thing. Instead of that, it will be y position and then id times 4, because there's 4 of these, subtracted by 3. Duplicate this, subtracted by 2, which would be y position, and make sure the first one is x position. Now duplicate both of these and then do 1 and 0. Now for subtract 1, it'll be item of questions. Item of, we duplicate this, instead of ID it's question times 5, since there's 5 of these for questions, and then subtracted by 4 plus ID, and place it in the item. Now lastly, very simply, size for 0. Now if else, touching mouse pointer, then we will do change size by divide, subtract 120 subtracted by size divided by 3, then if mouse down, and in the else, change size by 100 subtracted by size divided by 3, and in mouse down, wait until not mouse down. Now after this, do a if else id equals item question of answer. If so, change correct answers by 1. Else, set ID to W, which is wrong. Then here, broadcast new message, next question. Now for next question, when I receive next question, stop other scripts in Sprite, repeat 20 times, duplicate the change size by, keep it at 100. Now if else id equals item question of answer, then set color to -50, which should be green. And then another if else id equals W, set color to 80, which should be red. Then create a new variable named ghost for this sprite only. Set ghost, actually set ghost to 0 on top of here. And now change ghost in the else, change ghost by divide, subtract ghost in middle, 50 divided by 5, or 50 subtracted by ghost divided by 5, and then set ghost effect to ghost. Now, if ID equals 0, then change question by 1. Set y to -300. Create a new variable named ghost text, which will be soon used. Set ghost text to 100, and lastly set show text instead of ghost text to 0. Now repeat 10 times, duplicate the change y by, and place it in there. Now repeat 1 time, delete this clone, and then create options. Now if you test it, as you can see, all the 4 buttons will appear. Now let's get the text. Go into the description of this video, click the link to go into here, then click in see inside, then go in backpack, drag the text in, then go back into here, backpack, drag in text, and it should show. And as you can see in costumes, we have all the numbers and ABCs. Now, in here, when I receive start quiz, set ghost text to 100 forever. If show text equals 1, change ghost text by divide, subtract, 0 subtracted by ghost text divided by 5, then create a new block named create text, and then pause x, input called x, add a label called pause y, input called y, label called size, input called size, label called text, input called text, label called bright or brightness, input called bright, label called color, input called color, label called ghost, and lastly input called ghost. Now run without screen refresh, and then add the block in here. Now we will do divide by -2, multiply. Actually, before we do this, let's set up this. So for this, set size to size, set color to color, set brightness to bright, set ghost to ghost, and then go to 0 actually go to X and Y, create a new variable named digit for the sprite only, set digit to 0, repeat length of text, change digit by 1, switch costume to letter digit of text, letter digit of text, create a clone of myself, change X by size times 0.12. Now, when I start as a clone, show, and then go to front layer, wait nothing seconds, but it'll still do something, and then delete this clone. Now, back up here, for text, we'll do item 1 of questions, and instead it's question times 5 subtracted by 4. Item question times 5 subtracted by 4 of questions. Then, in here, in pos x, divide by -2, then multiply, duplicate the size times 0.12, and then times length of item question times 5 subtracted by 4 of questions. So it should look like something like this. And then y is 130, size 100, brightness -100, color 0, and ghost text. Now, create a new block named fast repeat, run without screen refresh. Fast repeat there. Now repeat 4 times, since there's only 4 options. Then create a new variable named cycle for this sprite only. Set cycle to 0 and change cycle by 1. Then place in a text, create text. Then for text, it'll be cycle times 4 subtracted by 0. Subtracted by 0, and then item of options info, and place it in there in text. And then for size, actually for text this will be 1, and then size it will be 0, text will be 1. Then pos y will be item, and then subtracted by 2. And lastly, duplicate this, and then do length of item cycle times 4 subtracted by 1 times, and then times size times 0.12 divided by -2 and then plus, then we will add, we duplicate item cycle times 4 subtracted by 3 instead, and then place it in pos y. Now, lastly, brightness negative 100, color 0 goes to 0. Now if you test it, click start. As you can see, everything will work fine. And make sure that in the fine, make sure at the very bottom set size to 100 here. Now if you start, as you can see, everything will be working. And if you answer a question, it will work. Now let's create the ending screen. So, when I receive end quiz, reset timer. Then create a new variable named y for the sprite only. Set y to negative 300. Set ghost text to 100. And then set y to y. Now forever, change ghost text. Actually, just duplicate the top one. Change ghost text by 0 subtracted by ghost text divided by 5. And then change text pos x. And then for that, it will be multiply, divide by negative 10, size divide by negative 10, and then the length of 2 joins in the middle will be divide, and then correct answers, and in the right will be length of answer. So it should be length of join correct answers join slash length of answer times size divided by negative 10. And then y should just be y, size should be 200, and then duplicate the join, place it in text, brightness negative 100, and color will be 0 and ghost is 0. Now place this in a if timer is greater than 1 or 1 second has passed. Now lastly, add the create text in here and duplicate this. Just remove this and do length of you got 3 dots and place it in there. Text will also be you got ... y position would be 80, size will be 200, brightness negative 100, color 0, and ghost text, ghost would be ghost text. Now if you test it, nice start, and then now select the correct one and then wrong one. It'll do you got, and then and also make sure and also make sure Oh, and also make sure that there's a change y by, duplicate this part, y by 0 subtracted by y divided by 5. Now if you test it, and then again, it'll do you got 1 out of 2. But if you do both of them all correct, then you got 2 out of 2. Now you have an advanced quiz game in Scratch. Thank you for watching and have a fantastic day.